Hello and welcome to Nikki and Joe Discussing Series. My name is Josiel Vasconcelos, but you can call me Joe.
And I am Nicole Camille, also known as Nikki, and we are two Brazilian advanced English students. I'm an English teacher.
And I'm an accounting student, and I'm passionate about the language.
And we have found here on this podcast a new way to have fun while we practice English.
If you love TV series just like we do, stay with us every week when we watch and talk about all the details of the episodes.
Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Nikki Joe Podcast, and stay tuned for upcoming episodes.
Hey Nikki, how are you doing?
I'm great. What about you? How is your quarantine going?
A little bored.
Really? Well, I'm not. There are plenty of series to discuss, right?
Yeah, you're right. And which one are we discussing today?
Let's talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is a sitcom created by Quincy Jones, Andy Borowitz, and Susan Borowitz, released in 1990. But before we start talking about the episode, I would like to talk about some trivia about the show, okay? So, the title of the first episode is The Fresh Prince Project, and it was directed by Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen is a director on Grey's Anatomy, and also she's an actress on the show, so it's really nice to know that. Will Smith, when he was cast to be on the series, he was already a famous rapper, and he was called Fresh Prince, so that's how they got the idea for the name of the show. And the series is not actually based on Will Smith's life. Did you know that? I always thought that it was about his life.
No.
I thought it was like how he became famous. I don't know yet if it's going to be something related to that, if they are gonna, I don't know, put something about his life on the show, but it was not initially based on his life. The directors, they thought that if he used his name, Will Smith, he was going to be known by his name, because when you are on TV, people call you the name of your character. So if your show is very famous, they're gonna forever call you the name of your character. So that's why
Yeah. Poor Harry Potter.
Mulder, Scully, everyone
Yeah.
from the show that I watch, I call them by their character's name, their TV names. And also, another interesting thing is the intro song that was written and performed by Will Smith. So, really nice.
Nice. You're done?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's start with the show. The show starts after this fight in Will's neighborhood in Philadelphia that Will was involved. And Will's mother sends him to live in Bel-Air with his Uncle Philip and Aunt Vivian. So the episode starts with Will entering the house. He's singing and hugging the butler, Jeffrey. And then he sees his Uncle Philip and Aunt Vivian. And as soon as Will enters the house, we can notice how different his lifestyle is from the Banks family. It's clear that Will's way of dressing and his dialect, it obviously bothers his Uncle Philip because they have a total different route, right? So
yeah, now I'm gonna discuss that. I don't know if we're supposed to, but because for me, when you say root, it seems like you're talking about his past, but we know that he was actually he wasn't always rich, so probably his upbringing, the way he was raised was similar to Will's. So I don't know.
I remember that in the end of the episode, he says that he had to fight to get everything that he has, obviously.
Yes.
But I'm just saying generally, like of course, he wasn't always rich, but his cousins and this family that he's going to be living with, they have different roots in this aspect, like the family itself. The kids were born in this rich environment, and and I think as soon as he starts talking to the butler, we can see that they both kind of belonged to different universes, and the way that he expresses himself bothers his uncle in the beginning of the episode.
It bothers even the butler.
Yeah, it bothers even the butler.
So funny. Yes, because I think because Jeffrey is British, so
Yeah,
he's really uptight. So when Will appears, he thinks that things are gonna change. So
that's another point
well,
why I like Jeffrey so much because he's British and I love British accent.
oh yeah, that's true. Who doesn't?
Yeah, right. And so his cousins are obviously spoiled and a little arrogant, but except for Ashley, she's the youngest of them, and she's the first to appear in the episode, and she seems to get along with Will pretty easily. And we can notice that she has a more lovely and sweet personality. I like how Will tries to cheer her up when she's upset for not getting in the school chorus. And he raps as if they were already the closest relatives, even though they don't actually know each other since she's younger. And they probably didn't have the chance to get to know each other before that, right?
Oh, that's true. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. And I also like the way they bond instantly. I have a feeling that the relationship's going to be the healthiest in the house, especially because she doesn't seem to be going the same way her siblings did. Don't you think?
Yes. Since she's very young, I think he's probably going to influence a lot on her. He's going to be a
An influence
important
for her,
influence in
right?
his life, in her life. Yes.
A good influence.
In some ways, maybe it will be good because she's not gonna raise to be as attached to money as her brother and sister.
Yeah, I think the same. Then we get to see Hilary. She's the oldest of them three, and she seems to be a little shallow with her urge to buy new things and always being engaged in social activities. But maybe I think that it's just because she likes the recognition, I guess.
Yes,
Uh, yeah.
just to be part of the group, a famous group, because she mentions many artists. So I think that's the only reason why she's involved on these causes.
And that's pretty common amongst rich people, right? Because they always have this need to be accepted, right? Like to be accepted in a circle, in a group, and to have a good image, a popular image, right?
Yeah, and this was the time of magazines, so they would probably take a picture of her with these famous people, and she would be famous
Yeah,
too.
true.
So,
That's true. Yeah. And
another thing that I thought it was interesting, she's talking about the environmental cause, air pollution, and since I was born in
yeah, right.
1995, I didn't know that we were already discussing these problems, so we're
Yeah,
still
probably it wasn't that common back in the 90s or what's the decade?
1990. Yes,
90?
it's 90.
Or isn't it the 80s?
No, it's the beginning of the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, their clothes are still seems a little weird, strange, their outfits. When I first started watching the show, I really thought it was from the 90s. Oh, sorry, for
From the 80s?
the 80s. Yes.
Yeah, because it seems to be a little older, and I get the feeling that it's from the 80s. I don't.
Yeah, but mostly because it's the first year of the decade, so
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
the outfits are
It had
still
a
from the other decade.
it had a big influence of the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, I still think that she's a cool person, and I like the way that she asks her dad for a lot of money as if he was nothing, and I wish it was that simple too.
$300. She asked for
Yes.
$300.
Yeah. And then Philip introduces Will to his cousin Carlton. He's a confident teenager who seems to do anything to please his father. And with this yes man vibe, I get the feeling that he just wants to follow his dad's steps and probably getting into law school also, maybe,
Yeah.
and having the same classy life as his father.
I actually think that the Carlton and Hilary they enjoy this life more than Vivian and Philip. It's like it's everything to them. But for the couple,
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
they
it's.
yeah, because they were raised already in this universe,
Yes,
right?
that's true.
So, Philip and Vivian, I know that they weren't always rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Philip always also mentions it. That's why he knows the value of the money because he knows how he owned this, how difficult it is to get all the money that he has gotten. So
Yes, for Hillary, it seems like she thinks that money grows on trees because
yeah. So Philip tells Will that he wants him to act like Carlton, thinking that he's the perfect good example of a son. But they clearly cannot get along so well because of their blatant different way of thinking, and Will has no intentions of getting closer to Carlton, of course.
and in this scene, it's important to point out that we are presented to this poster on Will's room of Malcolm X, and that's important because they mention twice in the show. So who was Malcolm X? You know, when I was watching, I heard about him, but I didn't know exactly what was his contribution to the U.S. Society. So I went on Google and I read some things about him to understand why Will considers Malcolm X his hero. There are some controversial thoughts of Malcolm X because he believed that he wanted the separation of black people from white people because he believed that if it wasn't like this, white people would continue mistreating, having prejudice, the racism would continue. So he wanted that black people had this empowerment, and he also believed in the black supremacy. So because of that, they think his ideas are kind of controversial. And at the same time, Martin Luther King, he was actually trying to end the racial segregation. So because of that, he sometimes people didn't know how to relate to him. Myself, I get a little confused because I don't know which one is the right thought. You know, for me, both are confusing. And also another thing about Malcolm X is that he's an example of how people can turn their lives around, you know, because he was born and he was poor, like most of the black people of that time. He was born around the, I think, 40s. I don't know. And his family suffered attacks from the white supremacist groups. For example, his family was persecuted by white supremacist organizations like Ku Klux Klan and the Black Legion. And because of that, his father died and his mother went to a mental institution. So he spent most of his childhood like on in foster homes. After that traumatic childhood, he went to the life of crime and he went to the jail for 10 years. After that, he started to, during that time, during his sentence, he was studying, and the people who wrote the show wouldn't put him there if they didn't think it was important. So it's crucial to mention that when he was younger, he wanted to be a lawyer, but a white teacher said that a black guy, a black boy could never be such thing, you know. So he suffered a lot, and then after his years in prison, he turned his life around and he became activist for black people's rights, and he showed to the whole world the matter of the racism and the need for the black people's rights. So I can see why he's considered a hero to Will. So
Do you know if he was an icon only for Will in the show or also in real life?
oh, I didn't go that far on the
Yeah.
research. Also because
Maybe
it's not actually based on Will Smith
yeah,
life.
yeah,
So
yeah, but maybe they brought some aspects of Will in real life to the show, I guess.
yes,
They could have
we
done
can
it.
check this for other episodes of the
Yeah,
podcast.
of course.
So yeah.
But it was very deep. It was way deeper than I thought it would be. Like I saw he mentioned in Malcolm X, but I didn't go this far. But it was, of course, it was very important. I just didn't go that deep.
Yeah, it's because I'm trying to study more about Black history and racism, all of that, because some years ago I didn't consider myself Black because, in Brazil we are mostly mixed race. So
Yes.
sometimes we don't know where we fit in. But since I think 3 years ago, I started to notice that I suffered some racism in small things. For example, entering in stores, the guards would be like following me, or in the bus, people would look at me weirdly. And some things got me thinking that maybe I was suffering racism. And my father is Black, so my mom is white. But then I started to realize that I was Black too, and some things that I went through in life were because of that. So I'm now
Before
trying to
you used to consider you as like
mixed.
a mix of
Yes.
both. Yeah. Because in Brazil we have mixed races, right? Like
Yes, we have
it's a
words for
half.
we have like words for the amount of pigmentation that we
Yes.
have in our
Yeah.
skin. So, and now I'm studying more about it because I think it's important for us to know our history, to be more in touch with our culture, because it's important to have roots. And
Yeah, you're
that's
right.
why and also because to be talking more about that is because this TV series is not gonna be just humor for humor. They're gonna deal a lot with many social criticism. They'll do that a lot. So it's really important because they're already showing us in the first episode, because they wouldn't mention for no reason Malcolm X. Going back to the episode here, we see this scene of Carlton and Will meeting each other again, like they haven't seen each other in years. And Will says something to Carlton, like he says, "I don't think you have to worry about anyone mistaking you for a brother." So when he says that, he's talking about the way that Carlton, the way he speaks, and they have like a word for that, but it's kind of a derogatory term, so no one can use it. Okay, so it's like Will thinks he's kind of acting white, but it's like he's saying that Carlton doesn't look, he doesn't speak, he doesn't act like other people from his age, like his peers, like Will.
Yes.
So because he was raised on a different space, different kind of society. He's a upper class.
Yeah, in a different
So
environment.
yes, it's like Phil, he had to change his ways to fit in into this world, because if he act like the way that Will speaks, if he dresses like Will does, he wouldn't be accepted. It wouldn't matter if he was intelligent enough to be where he is. People wouldn't see him as a successful lawyer. They wouldn't even hire him. So, to be honest,
Yeah, but
right?
I also think that it has an impact from the way he was raised had an impact on it because he was raised obviously in a rich school with rich friends
Yeah,
and with rich manners.
that when we are
So he
talking
was.
about Carlton, but
Oh, you're talking about Will?
yes, no, I was kind of giving a talking a little bit about uh why Philip is different than Carlton, because he kind of had this experience that Will had, but when he got into that society, he started to be a lawyer. He went to college and he had to change his ways because otherwise people wouldn't take him seriously. So when we are talking about Carlton acting white, I'm sorry for the word. No, I'm not using this word. I'm actually talking
You
about how
just
Will.
quoting
Um,
Will, yeah.
yes, I'm quoting. Yes, I'm doing air quotes, but you're not seeing.
Yes,
But I'm doing it. So yeah. So
don't worry.
what I'm saying is that had the he had the opportunity to study in the in a private school.
Yes.
He was raised with these people from a different upbringing that Will, and because of that they have these differences, and it's something that is very sensitive to talk about because some people they will talk with the African American English to validate their culture, to represent, to say that they are black and they believe in their community. So that's tricky because if there is this part that yeah, you have to show that you are a black person, that you support your people, but there's also the side of that they don't think that when people talk the African American English, they assume that people are not smart enough. So this is a very sensitive topic. I'm going to try to post some information on our Instagram account about that and also about Malcolm X if you guys are interested in learning more about him if you didn't know. So,
And now Will has to dress up to go to this party that his uncle Phil is throwing to these colleagues from his firm. And when Philip is having the party, he obviously wants everything to go perfect, to everything to go right. And he's concerned that Will is probably maybe going to mess it all up. And he's right. Will just comes showing some attitude, and he doesn't care about being polite. He doesn't care about acting the way he should act, about acting the way his uncle wanted him to act. As his uncle mentioned before, that he wanted him to act like Carlton, and I don't think he does it. He does it on purpose, but okay, he does it on purpose. But he's just not used to being surrounded by such incompatible people, you know. And I'm not just talking about his uncle's guests, but his this whole new family, this whole new world that he's has got into, you know.
yeah.
And after the party, Will's in the living room, and his uncle is kind of upset with him because of the way he acted, and Will just shows how he's not very happy for changing his life so suddenly, and he's kind of angry at his uncle and at his mother too, and he's angry with everyone wanting him to act differently. And it's interesting the way he talks to his uncle, like he's saying that he doesn't understand what it is to go through what he's been through, like something like this. I don't remember exactly the words.
Yeah.
And it's important the way that it's the thing that his uncle tells him, that he has to fight for everything that he has got, and he shows him that his life wasn't always that easy. That obviously his life is not easy right now, of course, but he showed him that he went through the same things that Will went through, and after that he just kind of leaves the room, and Will starts playing the piano, and he just stands there looking at him. And I feel like Philip can relate a lot to Will. I feel like Philip sees himself in Will when he was younger, and he just he just wanted his kids to have a different path, you know. I
Yeah.
feel like he knows exactly what Will's going through. So maybe that's why he wanted to help him. Maybe that's why he accepted to receive Will in his house, you know. He wanted to give Will an opportunity to have a better life as he
A better
had
education.
constructed, and help him get where he has gotten, you know.
Yeah, yeah, this scene I would just like to mention again that he also talks about Malcolm X. He says that he saw the as he says he saw the brother sorry, he saw the brother speak. He was kind of a follower, and
Yeah,
that
because Will says that he doesn't know Malcolm X, right? He
yes,
doesn't
it's like
understand
he
his
thinks
values or
that
something like this.
like every younger person, they think that
Yeah.
the adults don't know their heroes because it was from actually from Philip's time.
Yes. And
So
then
yeah,
Philip says that he's heard Malcolm's word, right?
yes, and at that part, he's like saying that he knows his history, his background, you know. So he's not when he dress up like that and he speaks like that, he's not erasing his past, his history, but it's like he cannot be different from that because of the society where he is placed in. So I thought it was a very interesting conversation that they had. And they're gonna have many
Yeah.
other important talks throughout the series. So listeners, pay attention to them two talking. And yeah, and the scene,
Yeah.
the piano scene, I was like really surprised. And I think that maybe Philip thought, oh, not everything's lost. Maybe
Hmm.
he'll he'll study
Maybe he has a
music.
classic spirit. Maybe he has a
Yeah,
classic spirit and
maybe he's gonna study music. I don't know. So he was happy to see that he could play the piano.
he has a good soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the end of the episode. And for me, my favorite scene of the whole episode was definitely Ashley's rapping prayer and Will's face as soon as she starts singing is, of course, priceless. And I had also to mention that she tells him in the end of the episode that he's like the big brother that she never had, and that hit me hard, of course, not just because it was funny. Of course, she was funny, but also because I love how they're connecting like instantly, like in a way that she never connected with her own brother,
Yeah,
and I'm definitely excited for more scenes of them two together.
it's basically like she doesn't consider Carlton her brother. It's
Yes.
yeah, for me it was the funniest moment too.
Language Corner.
This part we're gonna talk about idioms and the African American English. We're gonna bring some slangs and abbreviations, the ways that they speak. So, thing that I saw on this episode that was really interesting. It was when Will talked to Jeffrey, and he said, "I must have got the wrong crib."
Hey, Uncle Phil! How you doing?
I am not your Uncle Philip.
Oh, my fault, man. I must have got the wrong crib. But hey, yo.
So here, crib means home. So he's saying that he entered the wrong house. And I thought it was really interesting because as I was watching this TV show, I finished recently and I didn't even notice that crib wasn't home because I was so used to hearing crib that I didn't notice that it's not the word used for home because I watched this series like 2 months ago. I stopped watching, so but it's something that people don't usually talk. So that's it for the language corner. Pay attention to these words because you're gonna learn a lot with the series if you're interested in learning languages with TV series. So that's the show.
Yeah, because we also are learning a lot of slangs and expressions with the show, right?
Yes, of course. And also I'm really passionate about the African American English. So I will like try to learn, pay attention to these words, to the way Will speaks. If you are interested in learning the African American English, and also to learn in general some new slangs and abbreviations and idioms that they used on the show. So that's it for the language corner.
So that was it for today. Thank you for listening to our podcast,
And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, Nikki Joe Podcast.
and hope to see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.